Hello from Gardening at Dwensa here in Ireland, and this video is about sowing seeds. Now, not just any seeds. This video is about sowing some very particular ones that I've bought from a South African seed website. So we're talking specialist seeds here and ones I can't wait to get my hands on. So if you're interested in this kind of specific propagating video, then do stay tuned and you'll learn more. And before we get right down to it, and I know you can't wait, I just want to start off by giving a shout out to my friend Liga and her channel, Potted Jewels. Now recently Liga uploaded a video about the seeds that she's sowing this year, and it's kind of inspired me to make this video. So thank you very much, Liga. And in fact, we do things together very often. So we made a joint order to the South African seed website I'm going to reference in this video, and a lot of what I'm growing is also what Liga's growing. But anyway, do check out Liga's video, which I'm going to link to up above, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So I guess it's best to start by talking about some generals if you're thinking of growing South African plants from seed. Now this is just a kind of an overview kind of thing. You will need to look up specifics for each type of seed that you want to grow. But in general, a lot of the fine boss, a lot of the South African seeds require an acidic soil. So you're generally better off using peat as your substrate, peat and horticultural sand in many cases, because as well as requiring an acid pH for their mix, these seeds usually require good drainage. So a lot of horticultural sand or perlite or something like that is required. Now, if you're using horticultural sand for good drainage, make sure you test the pH first, because what I've found here in Ireland is that a lot of the horticultural sands aren't neutral, and you don't want something giving a very alkaline reading when you're trying to germinate tricky South African seeds. And bear in mind too that a lot of South African seeds require a difference in temperature between night and day to get them going. So sow in spring, and usually in a greenhouse, a cold greenhouse is good enough, because the sunshine in the morning here in Ireland anyway is going to wake those seeds up and get them going, and the drop in temperatures at night time is also something that they need. Okay, so having gotten all that out of the way, we're going to move away from this Cattleya, which has absolutely nothing to do with the subject of the video, and we're going to have a look in more depth at these seed packets that I've received in the post. Now, first up, you'll notice that I've already sowed a few seeds. These 4 pots have been sowed, and if we look carefully here, you'll see that I do have one seedling up already. And why are these sowed already? And the reason is that these seeds are in the Ammocharis family, and that family, generally speaking, requires the seed to be really fresh if it's going to germinate. So the South African company that I ordered these seeds from don't ever put the Ammocharis seeds on their website. You need to be on their mailing list, and when that seed is ripe, then they send you an email and send it off to you straight away, and you must sow the seeds straight away. And in fact, this one came with a big "sow now" written at the top of the packet. These arrived while I was away in Rome, so I had to prepare everything for my daughter to sow them straight away for me, because they couldn't wait 6 days until I came back. And she seems to have done a good enough job, because that one is up already. These are Boophone, and the other ones behind are Ammocharis, which is another South African bulb, which isn't up yet, although I do think I have the perfunctory weed seed there, which is disappointing. Now, with these seeds, what I tend to do is sterilize the soil medium first, usually in the microwave by adding water, putting it in a plastic bag and running it in the microwave for a period of time. And the mix I used for these seeds, the Boophone and the Ammocharis, has been peat and perlite, because I didn't trust my horticultural sand, and I've topped the whole thing with vermiculite. And actually that weed seed we see in the background, I think, has come from the vermiculite rather than the soil, because the mix had been sterilized. Anyway, so these are just up, and the Boophone, of course, is a fantastic plant, and anybody who watches my greenhouse updates will know that I already have one, a mature one, and now I'm going to have seedlings as well, so it's all good. The company I've ordered from is Silver Hill Seeds, who I found really excellent, and I've used them before. Also, Fine Bush People are a wonderful South African company that I've had good seed from in the past. And they supply predominantly South African seed, although some of it comes from nearby places like Madagascar. Okay, so the first one that I have bought, you can see here, is the Uncarina grandidieri. How am I going to sow this? Before you start sowing anything as complicated as South African seeds, you're going to have to do a bit of research. So I've spent several hours this morning researching what way I should sow these individual seeds, and I'm just going to tell you what I found out. Okay, so the Uncarina is a wonderful succulent plant that produces sprays of big yellow flowers, and I've seen it in various greenhouses and various wonderful places that I've visited. And I'm just going to pause now to give you a photograph of an Uncarina that I saw in the Messier greenhouse in Belgium, and you'll see just how glorious it is. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? So this had to go on my list. Okay, so in terms of sowing this, what I have found out is that this plant tends to like limey soil, I believe. This is the grandidieri particular species of the Uncarina. So I'm not going to use peat when sowing this particular one. I'm going to use a well-drained mix with sand or perlite, and the seed needs to be soaked beforehand. I think that's important to get it going. Right. Next we have Ferraria, and I have bought 2 different species of this fantastic plant from the iris family. I've bought Ferraria crispa and Ferraria variabilis. Now these look like contorted Dracula type irises as far as I'm concerned. They're really, really gorgeous. There's something of the stapelia about the flowers even, but they really look fabulous. So I never saw this plant for sale anywhere, so I'm going to grow this and see how successful I can be. For these, I believe germination will take 3 to 4 weeks, and I will use a sand mix and apply some bottom heat. Now, generally speaking, with these plants, we're not going to use a bottom heat, but with the Ferraria, I think it might be necessary. Although it wants a 20 degrees during the day and a 10 degrees at night, so it needs a nighttime drop. So I might actually just put this on a warm windowsill, because we could approach 20 degrees there. We should approach 20 degrees there during the day, and the nighttime drop will happen automatically. So I don't think that's going to be too complicated. The third set of seeds here, oh yeah, this is a fantastic one. This is one with a caudex, and caudexes are just the most amazing thing in the plant world. So it's almost like a bulb, but it's above the soil level. So can you imagine something that is producing a gnarled, hardened, brown growth above the soil, and that'll be your caudex. And very often these caudex plants are climbers, and this particular one, elephantipes, is among those. Now, I have seen an amazing one of these in a greenhouse in Dublin, and if I can manage to find that photograph, you're going to get that right here. So this is a pretty amazing plant, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. In terms of germinating, I think I shall use a vermiculite / grit / peat mix, heavy on the inorganic to give good drainage, to cover in a plastic bag. So for a lot of these seeds, what I'm going to do is sow them in little pots like this, and then cover the pots with the airtight plastic bag that's tied at the bottom, just to make it a closed system and keep the moisture in until the seeds get going. Okay, so what's up next? Oh wow, this one is amazing. Now if we could pronounce it, it would be a great thing. Xerophyta retinervis. Yes, it's certainly a mouthful, and this produces black stems. Yes, black stems, really unusual looking thing. So really, I have to have it. Something that I can grow in a pot in my greenhouse. These plants, none of these plants are ever going to be able to be planted out in the garden. So how am I going to sow this one? And this one is really strange in terms of its requirement. As far as I can ascertain, what you need to do is you sow the seeds in a seed mix, one that isn't too well drained. It needs to retain water. And then you place your pot, which has the seeds in a tray of water, which goes up to the surface of the soil. And you leave it like that. So you leave it basically sitting in water, and germination should take place between 2 to 4 weeks afterwards. Now, apparently this particular plant grows in little moss mats on rocky outcrops in South Africa, and these moss mats retain moisture really well in the summer, and that's why, you know, that's what's its natural environment. So that was a really interesting and unusual way to germinate that I've never experienced before. Next up, we have another caudex plant, and this is Momordica rostrata, and also produces a fantastic gnarled caudex that sits proud of the soil and will look wonderful in a pot in my greenhouse. Now, in terms of how to germinate these, I need to look further because I couldn't find much information at all, except that the seeds need to be soaked beforehand, so we shall leave it at this. Okay. This one here now, this one is going to be tricky. This is Dactylopsis, and it is a plant that looks like fingers sticking up. So it's a succulent. Varying reports on how easy this was to germinate. But one thing that does seem to happen is that even if you do manage to germinate the seeds, they tend to be prone to damping off. So we'll have to see what we can do. One report said that you shouldn't sterilize your soil because that means that, you know, it's retaining a lot of moisture and that'll lead to the damping off. But you do need to sterilize the soil, just need to make sure it's dried out properly afterwards. Anyway, we'll see how we go with that one. And nearly near the end now, we have a very interesting Aloe spiralis, which is wonderful. Now, I've grown Aloes from seed before, and I guess this one is not going to be much different. Aloes aren't difficult to grow from seed. Put in a pot with a plastic bag over it to maintain the moisture. No heat needed, generally speaking, because Aloes tend to produce their seed in autumn, indicating that the plants want the seed to germinate at lower temperatures, I'd say. And okay, so sow in a sandy peaty mix, perhaps 60% inorganic, and hopefully Bob's your uncle or Fanny's your aunt or whoever they are, and we should have Aloe spiralis by next year. Oh, and the last one is a species Streptocarpus, which I'm not going to deal with here because I will make a separate video on sowing Streptocarpus species seeds, as I do have some more coming. Okay, so that's all I really wanted to tell you about in terms of these exciting seeds that I'm about to sow. Yeah, thanks for watching. Check back for lots more of this kind of fun, and we will just finish up with, once again, a shot of that amazing Cattleya, which has nothing to do with anything. Okay, bye for now. And here are all those seeds potted up, well, most of them except the ones that needed soaking. And they're being put in this box, transparent box, which has a lid on, so it's the closed system that keeps the moisture in. They've all been put in here except the one that required the dry conditions, the succulent one that looked like fingers, can't remember what name, but and all the rest are in here. And this one at the end is the Xerophyta, the one that has to sit with water up to its neck. So we'll see how that does. I've topped them all with vermiculite, the other ones anyway, and well, we'll see where it goes from here.